Halo, selamat siang Pak Joni. Selamat siang Bu Sofia. Testing Bu Sofia. Tes. Good morning, Margit.
Hello, Adi.
How are
Nice
you?
to meet
Nice
you.
to
Fine.
meet you. Finally, we meet.
And you? Everything fine?
Everything is fine.
Okay, great.
Are you at home or are you in the office now?
I'm now in the office because we have a lockdown again. I don't know if you're informed. So in Austria, it's again for 3 weeks, a new lockdown installed, but it's a little bit more compared to springtime. Now it's a little bit openness in the sense that people are able to go to work. They should stay at home. But it depends on the organization, how they manage it, because when you have 2 people in an office, it shouldn't happen. So there is every day you can change this management in the sense that only one person is in the office. And I really like to be here because I have family at home. I have 2 children because schools are all also closed, so I couldn't talk with you in the sense that no noise is around. So
yeah, so annoying sometimes.
Yeah.
When we speak. Yeah, you can try the share screen.
Sorry?
You can try the share screen.
Yeah.
Already, so
I have a presentation PowerPoint, so
just try to share screen.
You see it? I make it on the whole screen. Let's see. It works. Do you see it?
Yes, I can see it clearly.
Okay.
Thank you, Margaret.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yes.
How did you manage the presentation? Who will start?
According to the flyer, I will start with Prof. Pavel.
Okay.
Then Professor Johnny.
Okay.
Then you will be the third. Is that fine?
Perfect. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. And then each speaker will have 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Then afterwards, we will have a question and answer through. Let's see how many participants are joining. If not many, I will let the participants directly ask. But if the participants are many, I will ask them to type in chat room.
Yeah. Okay.
At the moment, we have 55 participants registered.
Great.
Yeah, but normally not all will join. But let's see.
Yeah. But it's the first presentation in that sense in the consortium in BUiLD that you offered it in this context. What I know.
This is the second one.
Second one, okay.
The previous one was conducted last month on 15th of October.
Okay.
We invited head of School of Business from University of Gloucestershire, Dr. Dominic Dom, and then two speakers from Indonesia. And this time, two speakers from Europe and one from Indonesia.
Yeah, perfect.
So this is the second time.
Good. Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you for giving your time to speak at our webinar, at the BUiLD webinar.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure also that Nadine was thinking on that I have the possibility to contribute, and then I was thinking, okay, what can I present, and then I thought, okay, I was part of a European funded project with focus on psychosocial support, and I thought, oh, that's wonderful to combine social support with this issue, community resilience. So I hope I can contribute and give you some insight what we did, and we did a lot of case study research, and I hope I can give you good examples in that sense.
Thank you, Margaret. So you also know Nadine?
Yeah, we collaborate because we submitted a proposal in Austria.
Okay.
In the field of the Erasmus exchange program, Erasmus training, development of trainings for adults, and we focused on disaster competence and how to train them on the individual level and on the organizational level. And we also focused on these resilience issues on the individual and organizational resilience, with a strong focus on authorities who are responsible to do at the moment the decisions, especially to COVID.
That's why your research field is leadership, right? And
yes, exactly. Exactly. And yes, let's wait. I think in January we will get the feedback. Maybe I hope we will be successful. And Paul Schober, Paul, you know Paul?
Yes, Paul.
Yeah, Paul is also in this this group included. So yeah, let's see. We already did it in springtime once with a similar topic. Now we focus more on this organizational resilience issues and more focused on we are now more focused on the target group. And yeah, let's see. Maybe I hope, cross the fingers, that we get we'll get the money what we need.
Especially, you are still applying?
Yeah.
You are still applying?
4 weeks ago, yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I will invite Prof. Johnny as the second speaker. Prof. Johnny?
Yes, okay, good. So
He's already here. Yeah, you can leave for 15 minutes. We will start at 2 exact.
Yes, okay.
You can have a coffee. I will do it after this.
Yes, that's good.
Just make sure anything is going well, then I will leave. See you in 15 minutes, Marjit.
Yes, okay.
Prof. Johnny? There's Bu Sofia. Marjit, are you still there? Can you stop share, please? Thank you, Marjit.
Sorry, I had the presentation still on the screen.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I saw it was working well from start till the end.
Yeah, oh yes.
Yeah. I saw it. Thank
quick
you.
view.
Thank you. Now I will let the Prof. Johnny to try his share screen. Thank you, Marjit. See you in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hello.
I'm Pavel. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Margit.
Johnny Arianto
Hello,
from
Johnny.
Indonesia. Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Excellent. Have we tried sharing stuff or?
I already did it. I already managed it.
Okay.
Maybe.
Hello, Pavel.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, Margit.
Halo dekat
Hi. Hi.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Halo Adi.
Good very morning.
Hello, Prof. Johnny. I'm also surprised that the number of participants joining are still 5, including us. So I think we will wait for another 10 minutes till 10 past 2. We haven't seen Nadine too, so yeah, let's assume that they are coming soon. And then before we start, I will let Prof. Pavel to try your share screen, and then Prof. Johnny.
Yep.
Please,
I'll
Pavel.
go and try.
Margit already tried.
Okay.
I introduce you to Margit. Margit is from UMIT, Austria.
Yeah, nice to
Then
meet you.
Pavel is from Aston University, Margit, and Prof. Johnny is from President University as the rector of President University Indonesia. So the speakers would be 3 of you. We will start with you, Pavel, and then Prof. Johnny, and then conclude by Margit.
Okay.
We can see your share screen clearly.
Can you see it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay, let me just deactivate the. Oh, what's happening here? Sorry, I had to swap my computer, and I think I'm using 2 monitors, so I think my mouse is going the wrong way. But hold on, I'll stop it share.
No problem. No problem.
Okay. Good. Let me just sort that out. Control D.
So, Prof. Johnny?
Yes, Adi.
You wanna try the share screen?
Okay.
Should be fine.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Clearly.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you, Pak. Thank you, Prof. Okay, so we just wait for more participants to join, hopefully in 10 minutes time. Then each speaker will have 20 minutes to speak. After the presentation from 3 of you, then we will continue with question and answer. And as the number of participants are not many, then I will directly ask the participants to ask directly through a speaker. No need for using chat room. Okay.
Okay. Some of my students will be joining, but they might be joining sort of later around
No problem. Pavel.
3, which is 8 o'clock here, because as I said, we have a class, and so I told them, well, come to this first, and then we'll go to the class. But I think it's probably too much to ask to get them in at 7.
Okay. Sorry for that.
Let me just. Give me just
okay,
one
please.
second.
Please, Marshall, please.
No. Sorry, you want to say?
I think the time has just changed, right? Previously, last month, it was 8 o'clock, equal with 2 o'clock here, right?
Yes. So we changed the end of October.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
How are you, Nadine?
Just give
Nadine,
me a second.
hello.
Just see if I can.
Hi, Nadine.
Hi.
You should unmute.
Ah,
Yes,
Hello.
you forgot to unmute.
hello.
Hey.
Hello. Lovely to see you too.
Nice to meet you again.
Yes, and thank you so much for being one of our keynote speakers, and to you as well. It's lovely to see you.
Yes, and thanks that you think of me too.
No, it's a
Nadine,
pleasure.
because the participants are not joining yet, so we'll start in 10 minutes or 15 minutes.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay. Actually, there are 55 participants
55.
registered.
Wow.
Registered.
Wow, that's good.
But yeah, I don't know why. Only 7 of us are here now. So
Yeah,
that's
we had the
why
same the
I
last
proposed to
time.
wait.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's just wait and see who joins. I think waiting for another 10 minutes is perfectly fine, because I think sometimes people have problems with the technology, and so yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you so much for organizing this, Adi.
No problem, Nadine. I also introduce you to Professor Pavel. He's from Aston University, UK.
That's great.
Yeah, and I just realized once the time is set that there is a change in time in UK.
Yes, that's
why
correct.
it makes
Yes,
it early than before.
it is. It's 7 o'clock in the morning.
That's why. Sorry for that.
And must be very hard for you to wake up at 6, maybe?
Yes, but I have to say, Johnny, I do like getting up early. I tend to be more productive in the morning, so it's not a problem for me. But normally 7 o'clock is very early in the UK.
Yeah, because that's unusual for my Western friend, because usually they prefer to work until late in the night, but they don't want to wake up very early in the morning.
Okay. Noted, Pak, for later one. When we start any webinar, we will do it.
Yes, it's difficult in the sort of in the winter time, or the normal GMT time. In summertime, it's easier because the time difference isn't so great, and also it's light in the morning. I mean, here it's still dark.
Really?
So I'm sitting in the dark. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now we have already light. So.
Yeah, I can see you. You look quite nice and bright, but no, here it's still very much light. I can show you actually. I can show you a look into the garden.
Okay. Okay.
It is quite dark. Yeah. Okay, I think what I might do, if we're starting in about 5 to 10 minutes, I'm just going to excuse myself for a moment and set up my other computer.
Please
So
do.
I shall rejoin in a moment.
Okay, no problem, Nadine. Are you at home or in the office, Pak Johnny?
I'm in the office.
In the office?
Yes.
Okay. So you already work from office now, or because of this?
Because my home actually only 2 minutes from campus, so it's better for me to go to campus rather than staying in my house.
Okay. Because sometimes it is a noise from our children, right?
Yes, that's the problem.
The same.
And also the wife sometimes make noise too.
wife.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sorry, Margit. Sorry, Margit.
No,
I'm
no.
just kidding.
Also, my husband and my children. So I
Yes,
understand
yes,
everything
yes.
what you're telling.
Yes.
She just said so to me. She just said so earlier to me that she prefer to do this in the office rather than at home. The same with me.
Yeah.
But
I love
Pavel
my
is,
office.
Pavel is in at home, right?
Yes, I'm at home.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, from UK
Yes.
and Margit, where are you from? Sorry.
Austria.
Austria.
The
Oh,
western
yeah.
part of Austria. So I'm
Yeah.
living in the Alps. Yes, in the heart
Oh.
of the Alps. Yeah.
Oh.
And in Innsbruck, so our university is not
Innsbruck.
far away, 10 minutes from the capital city, from the federal
Okay.
state, Innsbruck. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The weather must be very nice. Yes, already snow.
At the yesterday, last days, we had nice weather. It was sunshine and warm, but several weeks ago it started to snow. It's coming down step by step. So we have. I'm living in 1,000 meters.
Oh.
So we had snow around 1,000 to 300 meters. So it's not far away from my place where I live. So yeah. The winter is coming.
Most of the Indonesian, we never seen snow.
Yeah, I know.
There is no snow in Indonesia.
I stay in a small village with a lot of so we have a lot of tourists too. So I know. So they are very happy when they visit our place, and especially they come in winter time to see the snow.
What is the condition? What is the condition at the present after all the COVID? What about the tourists? Yeah.
The tourists?
Yes.
Sorry, no, yeah. At the moment, we don't have any tourists. Yeah, but only people who have to work, they can stay at hotels or other places where they can have some overnight stays. But at the moment, all the hotels are closed. And for 3 weeks, 2 weeks, yeah, let's see what will happen for the winter season. Yeah, it will be very exciting time for all the entrepreneurs in this field.
Yeah. Then the economy must be very hard, yeah?
Yeah. And tourism is in the place where I live is one of the main income. Yeah, for the people. It's very interesting. In springtime, we had one village. It's Ischgl. It's a very famous ski area. That was the starting point of Corona at my place where I'm living. And it's very interesting in the moment because at the moment they have no COVID case, but before it was the area with the highest level. And it's very interesting at the moment.
How do they do that? I mean, from the highest level of COVID and then no zero?
No, at the moment, zero. I don't know. There could be two reasons, because there was a high level of infection in general. That could be one issue, that they already had COVID, And the other thing is maybe what I believe it's the behavior, the behavior of the people, that they are more strict in the interaction, the people, the population itself. And still an effect of the behavior. I think that is one reason from my point of view, that they keep them more safe in the interaction. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Hi, Paul. Are you there, Paul?
I'm here, yes.
No, Paul. Paul Scober.
Paul Scober, sorry.
Yes, I'm also here. I was listening to the interesting story of Ischgl, so that's good.
Ischgl, yeah.
Yeah, the main reason might be that definitely around half of the inhabitants of Ischgl are already infected and they are somehow immune. This is one of the villages with the most, let's say, infection rate in Europe. And maybe they already did it. So.
Yes.
But nice to see you, Johnny, again. So, but no possibility to travel to Europe at the moment. So.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Nice to meet you again on the virtual meeting, yeah?
Yeah.
Paul, I introduce you to Professor Pavel from Aston University. as one of our keynote speakers.
Great.
Okay, now we have.
Adi, I'm
Yes.
just thinking, is it possible to record the meeting?
Yes, it is. It is. I'm recording. I also connected through YouTube.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because it would be lovely to have a recording of this later, so that we can disseminate this to a wider group of people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no problem. So we will start in 5 minutes. Yeah. Let's wait for another 5 minutes.
Let's do that. Yes.
Good afternoon, Bu Sri. Good afternoon, Bu Fika. Nice to meet you.
Good afternoon, Buddy.
How are you, Bu?
I'm fine. I'm sorry I cannot turn on the video, so it's only the audio.
Okay, no problem. No
Yeah.
problem.
Menetapkan kebijakan terkait internasionalisasi sehingga Bapak dan Ibu berdekatan. Setidaknya ada 4 yang ingin kita dorong.
So here is our YouTube link. If you also want to see this link, we are all here. We are all at that YouTube link.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, shall we start?
I think we should make a start, yes.
Okay, thank you, Nadine. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second BUiLD webinar titled Community Resilience Cases from Around the World, hosted by Universitas Surabaya and University of Gloucestershire, UK. Also, good afternoon and good morning for Professor Pavel from Aston University, UK. Also, good morning for Associate Professor Margit Wright. And also, good afternoon for Prof. Johnny Octavian. Thank you for all of your time to be the keynote speakers to the second BUiLD webinar that is held today, Monday, 23rd of November 2020. I am Aditya Jakusuma from Ubaya. I will be your moderator for the next 90 minutes. I will divide this session into 3 presentations, where I will start with Professor Pavel for 20 minutes presentation, and then continue with Professor Johnny Octavian for another 20 minutes presentation, and then concluded by Associate Professor Margit Reich for another 20 minutes. Then I will continue with question and answer. And as the number of participants are not many, then I will directly ask the participants to ask by unmuting themselves so that the speakers can directly answer the questions. Okay. Today, sorry, there is a mosquito here. That's why flying in front of me. Today we have 3 remarkable speakers. First is Professor Pavel Alberas. Let me inform you about Professor Pavel. Can you see my share screen?
Oh, sorry.
Can you see my share screen?
There's something black.
Oh, sorry, I do. I will read your resume first, Pavel.
Yeah.
And then continue with you. Okay, so let me share screen first. Then, can you see my share screen now?
Perfect.
Yes, okay. Professor Pavel is a professor of operations and supply chain management and director of the Center for Research into Safety and Security, CRICS, at Aston Business School. He was the head of department in the Operations and Information Management Department from 2015 to 2018. He received his PhD on simulation of e-business processes from Strathclyde University, Scotland, where he also gained a Master of Science in Manufacturing Management. His first degree was in chemical engineering. Pavel's major research interests revolve around the fields of simulation, supply chain management, emergency management, and humanitarian logistics, on which he has more than 90 publications. Pavel has worked with leading governmental organizations in the field of preparedness in 9 countries as a co-investigator in an EC-funded project, evacuation responsiveness for government organization, project value of 440,000 euro. He has participated in research projects in the areas of knowledge management in extended enterprises, low carbon SMEs, and supply chain management. He has acted as a consultant in the area of modeling and simulation with a number of organizations such as the Office of the Deputy Prime Minister, Fire Service Directorate, Highland Spring, and DAX Group. While as the second speakers, we have Professor Dr. Johnny Octavian Haryanto from Indonesia. His short resume is he got his doctoral degree from the University of Indonesia in Indonesia. He also got Master of Arts in Leadership from Harvard International Theological School in Indonesia. He also got Master in Management from Gajah Mada University, Indonesia. And he got his Bachelor of Economics from Satya Wacana Christian University, also Indonesia. He is recently a rector for President University Indonesia from August 2016 till present. And he was previously Director of Strategic Planning in President University. He actively published in international and national journals with his research interests are marketing management, brand management, consumer behavior, and entrepreneurship. While as the last speaker, we have a lady from Austria, Associate Professor Dr. Margit Reif. She's currently Assistant Professor at the Tyrolean Private University, UMIT University of Health Sciences, Medical Informatics and Technology, Austria. She's also head of the UMIT Academy. Her major research and teaching areas are value-based leadership, health services and strategic management, public health and disaster management, focusing on qualitative research methods. She also participated on European disaster management project named PsyCRIS, with focus on psychosocial support in crisis management. And she's currently developing a postgraduate study in the field of cross-border disaster management. She's co-organizer of the QualMed Symposium that focuses on the application of qualitative research in social and health sciences. Without further ado, I now welcome and give a time for Professor Pavel to deliver this presentation. Please, Prof. Pavel, time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just start my timer here. Can you all see my screen? Hopefully, yes.
Yes. Clearly.
Okay, well, thank you very much. First, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to talk about some experiences and some ideas that we're thinking about investigating. Very, very honored to be in such a distinguished company. When I say we have three distinguished presenters, say, well, I can see two, where is the other one? But it's really good to be here. So I'm just going to talk to you about the role of civil society and volunteers in humanitarian and disaster relief. And this is just to give you, say, sort of a flavor of some examples we have seen in this area, but also to just sort of share some ideas about areas which we think might be interested to do research here. So if you know something about that, and if you have done some research about that, just please share with us. So, I mean, just probably just as a background, but we know why we're here. Sort of disasters have been increasing throughout the years, and its importance and the management of those disasters has become more and more important. And we will see that to the next presentations. But also one thing which is quite interesting is obviously you have your normal responders, the government, you have NGOs, for example, or commercial organizations which help to respond to disasters. And we know that the importance of disaster management in terms of preventing disasters, decrease the risk of the disaster happening in the first place, and if it happens, well, then responding and minimizing the suffering for the people that are in there. So in terms of oh, what's happening here? It's moving without my my control. Okay. Some of the things that obviously we want to do is go through the different stages of the disaster management cycle. Hold on a second, something strange here. I don't have timers or anything. Sorry, I don't know why that was moving like that. Let me just check if I'm not clicking on anything. Nope.
No problem. Take your time.
Anyway, well, we know disaster management is important. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this talk. And one thing we started looking at was of volunteers in disaster relief. And obviously, this came out from, I'm originally from Mexico. So we had a big earthquake in 1985, which a lot of volunteers started helping because the government was basically overrun. And we've seen that time and time again. I'll show you in the next couple of slides sort of a more recent earthquake that happened. So we started thinking about, well, what's the role of volunteers in disaster relief and how can we help with our lens. I'm coming back, as Adi says, from a sort of modeling, simulation, information systems background. So how can we use those tools to help coordinate volunteers and to make that more effective? So we started looking at, if you look in the literature, you will see that they are referred in a number of ways. So citizen-driven disaster relief, which is the one I like. Some other call it survivor-led humanitarian response and reconstruction, the spontaneous volunteers. You will see that there is already some literature, although not much, on the use and coordination of these volunteers. So I say we're going to give you a few examples. The first one is in Puebla, in Mexico. This is my city, this is where I come from. Actually, and this is the volcano that's there. Is the Popocatépetl. As you can see, sort of. Actually, I took that picture when I was there at some point from my hotel window. It's quite close to the city. It's quite an active volcano, and in this case, there was an earthquake on 19th of September 2017. Again, for just at that time I went to Mexico for 2 days. And one of them was this. Fortunately, I had just come down from my hotel room because I was on the 21st floor. So I was just leaving the hotel when the earthquake strike hit. So I was glad I wasn't all the way up. But basically, so it was a 7.1 magnitude, center not far from Puebla. About 370 people were killed. And there was a number of things that were observed in that earthquake. So as we can see here, so there was a huge mobilization of volunteers and people from the public helping. So we can see here people lifting rubble, trying to rescue people who have been trapped. We have people donating equipment and material, and obviously, to say, sort of volunteering to go and help with the relief effort. And something which struck me was that, for example, there was coverage, TV coverage of school which had collapsed. So it was in all the channels. So all the people that wanted to help went to that school. And so there were many people there, which obviously you didn't need that many people. But there were some other places which had equally been affected, but that had no volunteers there. So it got me thinking, well, what can we do in order to sort of try to coordinate those efforts, and maybe some of the tools that we can work with, we can use to try to make that more efficient. So try to direct those volunteers. Obviously, there is an issue with volunteers in that they are not coordinated, or not at the moment. So they go to where they think they're needed. So we thought maybe, I guess it's some of the ideas that I want to explore, and we haven't sort of progressed much on the development of those tools, but some of the ideas that we're trying to explore. As you can see here, so there are some volunteer organizations, which still volunteers but are a bit more organized. So we have one here in which sort of schools, universities become centers for people to go and donate, and from there distribute them to where they're needed. And we have some organizations. This organization, the Topos, I'm not sure if you are familiar with them. It's an organization that was created after that 1985 earthquake, and they go to places where, so they train on rescue in collapsed buildings, and their motto is that, sorry for the language, but that they have the balls to go where no one else will go. So they basically just get on there, rubble and tunnel into quite dangerous buildings. They have actually been in Indonesia, so they went in 2004 for the tsunami and 2009 for the earthquake. And actually, they say that 2004 Indonesia was one of the toughest assignments they have ever had to do. Well, partly because of the scale of the operation, but also because they're volunteers, they pay their own airfares. So they got, I think, a sort of very discounted airfare from Japan Airlines that got them up to Singapore, but they couldn't get from there to Indonesia, and it was just because someone donated $400 for them to take the ferry to cross that they could get there. So I mean, this is just an example of different levels of volunteers. So these are people who are volunteers, but they are organized, they train, and they have a certain structure when they go into areas. Another example was Occupy Sandy. If you remember when the Hurricane Sandy hit the east coast of the United States, New York particularly. And some of the things that they did sort of with the Occupy movement, which was quite active at that time, was quicker to organize that some of the governments like organizations, FEMA or NGOs like the Red Cross. So they set up communication hubs to establish communication, coordinate, so trying to do some of this coordination. And they were quite innovative in trying to get help and donations. So rather than just getting people to donate whatever they thought or they wanted or they had, so they said two things. One was a sort of online account so people could donate, and so they could have the money and buy the things that were needed, but also in-kind donations, but quite innovative. I really like this example, in which they use Amazon Wedding Registry, in which you can put things. Well, normally, if you have a wedding, you can put things that you want people to buy for your wedding if they want to give you a gift. So they use this to say, well, we need, I don't know, 200 tents. So they put that in the tents, and people could go into Amazon in those lists and buy or contribute to buying some of those items. Just look at the time. The last example I have is when the Icelandic volcano, Eyjafjallajökull. And I can only say that once a day, otherwise I'll get a stroke. The one when the volcano hit in 2010, and how the community was organized and how they intervened to help other people. It was quite interesting because we were doing one of the projects that Adi mentioned at that time. So ERGO, evacuation responsiveness for government organizations. We're working with 10 governments, mostly in Europe and Japan. And one of them was Iceland. So we went before and after the volcano hit to look at their disaster preparedness. So it's quite interesting to see the plans and then to see what has happened and then go back and study how they have actually deployed those plans. So if you remember, it was volcanoes, a huge plume. You can see here. So that's the whole of Iceland, and you see that if you remember, it sort of closed the European and North American airspace for quite a few days. And this is the area around here. So what we have here is, sorry, What we have here is that the volcano that exploded, Eyjafjallajökull, and actually their planning assumptions or their exercises are for the bigger volcano here, Katla, to erupt, so which is going to be about sort of 10 times bigger than Eyjafjallajökull if it goes. You can see here some of the evacuation routes, some of the shelters that they had in place, and the characteristics of the region is that it's quite dispersed. Obviously, Iceland is sort of not very densely populated country. So you can see some of these dots here are actually houses that where people live. So that presents some challenges for the evacuation of those places. This is some pictures from the aftermath. So it's basically, there's a volcano, but there's the glacier at the top. So there was a lot of water melting and flooding as a consequence. We went in, I don't know, probably what, 4 or 5 months after the volcano, and there were still sort of rivers which had formed from the eruption flowing at that time. So you can see here some of the houses that the people live in, and as I say, sort of there are roads which go to the main road. So and there are the houses that branch off those roads. So one of the things they have there is that when there's evacuation, the person in the last house has a obligation to check that all the neighbors further up on the road have evacuated. And so they can, when people evacuate, they put a sign outside the door so that they don't have to sort of drive into the branch of the road to get to the house to check. So they say, well, we have evacuated. And in that way, people can check whether they have gone. I mean, I just like these pictures. They're quite impressive. You can see people here evacuating. You can see the ash clouds, some of the settlements of people that were evacuated, and so this is how it was once a few hours had passed. And you can see here sort of people helping neighbors, for example, to get their animals into the barns so that they are protected from the ash, which could be quite damaging. We have here, once the volcano has passed and it has settled, you have sort of volunteer organizations, neighbors, helping people, for example, in this case, to clean the roofs, to get things back to normal in a way. So, for example, here removing the ash because it's quite heavy, so it could collapse the roof. So, like I said, these are some examples, and we've done some work on. Not sure what is coming like this. 4 minutes. We've done some work on mass evacuations. This particular project was on mass evacuation, and part of what we did was try to understand what role sort of volunteers and the general public had. So we're looking. We created a whole suite of decision tools, but we started by having a sort of area. Having the population, the inhabitants of those cities mapped and looking at the density, and then we created some models. So this is the model probably is more interesting for this talk. This model about warning dissemination. So it's basically you have different neighborhoods. You can see here the greenhouses are the ones that have been alerted that they need to evacuate. Red houses are people that are evacuated, unevacuated. The red houses are the ones that don't have the information. They don't know that they need to evacuate. The yellow houses, they know that they need to evacuate, but they haven't evacuated yet. So we use this model to study different modes of disseminating that warning message. We also looked at the actual evacuation, pedestrian traffic, so the road network and the traffic modeling, and shelter management as well within that. the role of volunteers and some results, analysis of results. So I'll just present you with a quick example of some of the results and some of the experiments we carried out. So in this case, we were looking at the role of unofficial channels. So basically neighbors telling other neighbors that they need to evacuate. So we had the effectiveness of, for example, the blue line here, so no unofficial channels. So it's basically, this was a middle of the night, so people getting their alerts through their phones or radio or TV. And then what happens if 25% of neighbors warn other people that they need to evacuate? What happens if 50% of neighbors warned other people that they need to evacuate? And we see of that volunteer organization, that involvement of the public has quite a big difference. So, I mean, that's basically some of the examples that I want to touch on. And this has sort of risen some areas of interest that we think are worth looking at as research, and we're very happy to talk to people if they want to collaborate. The first one is obviously the coordination between governments, NGOs, and citizens. How do we do that? Particularly with that sort of citizen volunteer element. So government NGOs, normally they will have some sort of already role within preparedness plans. And we think that maybe sort of use of technology, sort of artificial intelligence, or using infrastructure of smart cities that could help to identify, for example, clusters where there's people needed, identify where people are volunteering, and we try to match those two together. There are some ethical issues, ability to be considered in getting volunteers in a sort of coordinating them in an official role, because then you get into sort of, are you then liable if something happens to them? The effect of culture, I think we see is quite interesting. Different countries will have different levels of propensity for people to become involved in the society and help or not, so whether they're individualistic or collectivist organizations. In some cases, there have been sort of legislation which has been put into place. So I know here in the UK, the Cabinet Office Guidance for Preparedness. That's my 20 minutes. It will be just 20 seconds more. So they have put into place some guidance of how to use volunteers. In Mexico, they have also started legislating, saying that, for example, if you want to volunteer, you need to register first, so that they can have some sort of control. So that, again, it's an area of interest. And then finally, sort of probably using blockchains in terms of trusting the messages that are distributed, because there is a lot of misinformation, particularly nowadays, in terms of when it's a disaster and so rumors that start going around. So I think I'll probably stop there. If you have any questions, here's my email, and I guess probably will be shared. And I'm happy to answer questions later when it's our turn. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Pavel, for sharing how civil society and volunteers help each other during a disaster period. Now, I welcome the second speaker, Professor Dr. Johnny Octavian, to deliver your presentation. Now, time is yours, Prof.
Thank you, Adi. Let me try to share my screen. Can you see my screen, Adi?
Yes, we can clearly.
Yes, so today in this 15 or 20 minutes, I would like to a little bit share about community resilience, learning from Tanjung Lesung and Bali. So this is some principle of for building resilience. Number one, of course, understand the vulnerability of the community or society. We were learning very much from what happened in Tanjung Lesung. At the times, we think that Tanjung Lesung is very stable, the community is stable, the society is stable. But once the tsunami hit Tanjung Lesung at 2018, Tanjung Lesung is located in West Java, in West Java. Then suddenly we realized that it is very vulnerable in Tanjung Lesung. Number two, of course, strengthening job and housing opportunities. Because when there is no job, when the house is limited, then it will create a lot of problems. And also promote equity. As we know, sometimes our GDP is considered as high because Indonesia is also listed as a G20 group. But the problem is with the differences in wealthiness is very different. Then when it comes to the disaster, something bad can happen because the poor society, they tend to do a lot of bad things toward the situations in the chaos. Number four, and of course, leverage community assets. All the communities, they have their own assets, they have their own local leaders, and most of the times, these local leaders were more trusted rather than government. This local leader were more heard by local society compared to the formal authority from the government. And then they define how and where to build. And then number six, I think it's already explained a little bit by Professor Pavel about how we use innovation and technology to build resilience. Let's see what happened in Tanjung Lesung. So Tanjung Lesung is area in West Java Peninsula, and we have Jababeka, we have resorts there. Jababeka is holding company, and also the founder of Jababeka is the same, the founder of Presidency. We, Presidency, have a very close relationship with Tanjung Lesung Resort. And then at 2018, at December, close to end of December, there was a big hit of tsunami. And there were a lot of victims. Most of them are employees of our resorts. What are the problems? The problem is a lot of help were robbed before it reached the destination. So once we heard that there was a big tsunami in Tanjung Lesung, there were a lot of help and donations come to Tanjung Lesung. But before it reached to Tanjung Lesung, it was robbed by some local people. And these local people, actually, they were not affected by the tsunami. So they just a bandit who robbed all the donation and also help. And then after we have to wait one day, if I'm not mistaken, National Army and also National Guard, they opened the road and they guarded all the donation distributions. Then after this tragedy happens, it enlightened us, all of us, regarding the need of resilience. Resilience becomes very important, and we need to always build and always communicate this resilience. And what are the principles of community resilience? Number one, local wisdoms. I believe in most of the area, or maybe in all areas, they have their local wisdom. And then community leader, as I've already explained before, that local community leaders sometimes more powerful, sometimes have a stronger influence compared to the government. And then number three is educations. The better the educations, I think the better the resilience. The less the educations, the worse the educations, the worse the community resilience. This is what we are trying to build to help building community resilience at Tanjung Lesung. We encourage local people. If we see here, local people, we try to strengthen their economy. And then if their economy is better, they can send children to go to school, and then better educations means better wealth, less chaos, and also we build detector for tsunami and also for earthquakes. And then now after 2 years, after 2 years, it has already 100% recover, and even it's not better than before. But the problem, once again, when the disaster comes, the problem is before before the disaster come, we need to educate, we need to have our mitigations strategy and technology. And then during the disaster, like what happened in Tanjung Lesung, during the disaster, it was very dark, it was very chaos, a lot of dead body, etc., etc. There is no experience of handling this kind of disaster before. This creates a lot of problem. And then after, because a lot of trauma, a lot of bad experiences, then how we communicate and how we solve this kind of problem. So again, community leader role is very important. Yeah, some local people, usually the senior one, from the kampung or from the village, they have their own influence, they have their own power, and then we need to approach them. We need to have a better communication with them. So hopefully not, but if there is or there will be a disaster anymore, again, we can contact this community leader, and then we can have a collaboration together to support this community leader to solve the problem. And then after that, in order to build our resilience, we also have a sister village program. This is Cikarang. Cikarang is owned by PT Jababeka Holding Company. And also we have also 1,500 hectares resort in Tanjung Lesung. This is after the tsunami. Yeah, and we are trying to make a Cikarang. Cikarang is also located in West Java as a sister village program. Yeah, for Tanjung Lesung. How we what in Indonesia we call it ATM. Yeah, ATM means how we serve, and then how we copy, and then we give innovations to make Tanjung Lesung replicate Cikarang, and then one day even become better than Cikarang. If Cikarang is for industrial estate, then we build Tanjung Lesung as a tourism estate. Number two, I want to explain a little bit about community resilience in Bali. As you know, Bali is very popular. Sometimes it is even more popular than Indonesia, because I met a lot of people. Where do you come from? I come from Indonesia. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know Indonesia. You know Bali? Oh yeah, we know Bali. So Bali is very popular. But now, after the COVID-19 hit the Bali, Bali is very quiet, and then it needs some time to recover. In Bali, they have what they call local irrigation system. They call it SUPA. Yeah, SUPA is local irrigation system. It has been started since 800 AD. Yeah, 800 AD. And then this they have these three principles. They call it, this is not Bahasa Indonesia. I think this is Sanskrit or something like that. A very ancient language. They call it Trihita Karana. 3 is 3 or 3, equal to English 3, yeah, 3. Hita is happiness or wealthiness, and then Karana is the cause, yeah, the cause or the root cause. So there are 3 root causes of happiness or wealthiness. Number 1, they call it Parahyangan. Parahyangan is how we human being have a good relationship, harmony relationship with God. Number 2 is Pawangan. Pawangan, how human being or humans can have a harmonic relationship with other human being. And then number 3 is Palamahan. Palamahan is how we have a harmonic relationship with nature or with environment. So these 3 are becoming very important. And then in this Supa, they praise the God in Bali. They have the Pura. Pura is local temple. They call it Pura Bedugul. And then it was managed by one local community leader. In Bali, they call it Pakaseh. Yeah, Pakaseh. This Pakaseh is also farmer. So all the farmers, all the owner of the factories in Bali, they meet together, and then they have deep discussions to create agreement, local agreement. And then they make a coordinations of when and how they will plant the rice, and then they also make they control all the water distribution. So there is no competition among them. And then if you have smaller filteries, of course, you will get less water. And then if you have a bigger filteries, you will have more water, etc., etc. And also when to have a development and then how to maintain. So all this irrigation system, not talking about water or about the land, about the filteries, but about how you manage, how you deal with other people, how you deal with other farmer, how you deal with society, how you deal with environment, even and the last, how do you deal with God. And this has been proven, become resilience and they're locals. There is no more competitions among them. There are no more competition among them. They respect one each other. And now this irrigation systems was awarded by UNESCO 2002 as one of the local culture in Indonesia. So as a conclusion, I would like to say that let us build our resilience before the disaster, when the disaster comes, and then after this disaster comes. We will need all of this to build a stronger community as a community resilience in our own places. Thank you so much, Adi. I think that's all from me. I will.
Thank you, Prof. Joni. Thank you for sharing how President University helps Tanjung Lesung and Bali for community resilience. Now, I will welcome the next speaker from Austria, Associate Professor Dr. Margit Rai, to share her community resilience from Austria.
Thank you very much.
Margit.
Thanks. Do you see my slides? It works? Yeah, perfectly. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks again also for the invitation and the kind introduction, Adi. I will focus now on the issue community resilience, but with a strong focus because of my past experience on the European funded project where I have participated. And the focus will be the role of psychosocial support also to strengthen the community resilience. And I will give you short introductions about what we dealt with in the sense of the context of this project. It was named PsyCrise. And we dealt with the crisis management in the context of social support, and it was an international multidisciplinary project funded by the European Commission. It was running from 2013 till 2016-17, and we were a consortium, a research consortium of 10 partners from Germany, Spain, Israel, Lithuania, Luxembourg, and Austria. And universities have been participated, but also non-profit organization with a strong focus in offering psychosocial support in their countries, especially Luxembourg and Spain were integrated with these organizations. And we also had some private companies participating in this project. And our overall objective was to contribute to the improvement of psychosocial support in Europe, but with a strong focus on the organization, on the countries who were participating in this project. And we also, what was very exciting for me and a big learning issue, we came from different kind of disciplines. We had psychologists included. We had people from the field of sociology, public health, also from the management area. That was my focus, social science, and this was very excited to get in the different kind of views and perspective. It was not always easy because we also had to define what is psychosocial support. Because we had different views and insights, but I think we contributed in the added value of these different kinds of discipline in a positive way, because as the others mentioned before, it's very complex dealing with disasters, and very many variables have to take into consideration in dealing successful with disasters. Because there was the call to think about, to present case studies, and That was also part of the project. We really focused on case study analysis of different disasters, looking on the context, on the countries, how they managed the situations, and this was for us very important to get detailed insights and collecting experiences from the learning perspectives. We had one work package that defined we should think about some scenarios that could happen in whole Europe. That was not easy because I'm living in the mountains. An avalanche will not happen in Portugal, for instance. So we were thinking about 3 main scenarios that really can occur in each European country. I will give you I will show you the 3 scenarios afterwards. And the scenarios were very useful in the research context because we really developed some scenario screenplays, and they served also for the starting interviews with crisis managers. And going inside to give the feedback from them, how they evaluate certain scenarios that happened in the past. And it served, the scenarios also helped us to pilot some simulation games. And additionally, each country was always invited to check disasters in the past in the form of a case study analysis in each partner countries. And that was a part of a work package where I was responsible for it, because we were analyzing long-term impacts of crisis on the public health system and on the science society. And therefore, we went into the past doing some analysis, what happened in the past and what are the learning outcomes, also in the field of community resilience. We focused on 3 scenarios: terrorist attack, airplane crashes, and flood. That was our decision to focus on these 3 main scenarios. 2 of them has a main reason because in Spain and in Luxembourg, we had this non-profit organization who are offering psychosocial support. So they gave us also in the past a very good insight in 2 disasters that happened in the past. That also served for us to develop some role plays and the simulation games. And we decided flood is also of high relevance in the sense of a natural disaster in Europe. So that were the three scenarios. And what we did is to go inside in all of the countries to do some long-term impact analysis of disasters. And therefore, our team at BUiLD developed a questionnaire that means a guideline, just to collect in a systematic way information about disasters from the past. And disasters from the past means that we defined that these disasters occurred 10 years before, that we can collect some information, what happened after a disaster. In the sense of security issues, changes in laws, whatever, a modification of operation plans and so on. Just not to go too much into detail. So we try to get information on general information about the major incident, specific information concerning the chosen disaster of our project teams who has chosen a certain case in their countries, to make analysis of the coping strategy in general, and also have getting some information about direct effects on health, costs, long-term effects, 0.5 on public health care, and finally also long-term effects on culture and the community. And just one sentence, it was not easy to collect this information. The bigger an event, the bigger also data is available, also in the sense of research activities. The smaller an event, the more we got real problems to collect this information. So it was not always easy, and we didn't get them. And that's the reason why also we did some interviews of people who were involved in the disaster management, in the crisis management, to get an deep information about how they did the management, and also get information about the question, our question that we wanted to investigate. So just a short view how it looks like. So we developed a form that we support our researchers in the different countries to have a systematic way of analysis. So now I want to take you on a journey. So we start in the north, we go in the middle of Europe, and then we go to the south. Just shortly because of the time, but I want to get to show you a short impression about what we did and which kind of disaster we have identified in the different participating countries, and to give you just so short information what I believe has an added value also in the sense of community resilience. So we traveled to Lithuania. And Lithuania, it's really fun because our research in Lithuania told me, hey, we are not confronted with any big disasters. And then it's really interesting, the awareness, because no, flood, it's not a topic. Terror, we know, terror attacks and airplane crashes or other issues, however, that happened in the past, no. But then she told me, yes, we have a flood in a regular way. So it's not one thing that happened, but in a regular way. And I told her, please, let's go inside, because I think it's important to see about how the population, how the municipalities, the organizations are dealing with this issue, because it's very important for the learning progress, also to transfer the information to single events in other countries. So you see on the western part of Lithuania, there is a higher degree that people are confronted with a flood in a regular way, and people have to decide how to survive in such an environment. And she told me it's really fun if you travel there, you see always boats beside of the houses, but there is no water. And this is one thing that people are confronted with this flood in a regular distance. And this issue is they have to be mobilized themselves in the sense that they need a boat. So every house has a boat in the case when a flood arises. Most important information is for me that they really actively integrate the population there, the evidence into the monitoring systems on the level of water. That means they actively are involved in calling the municipalities if a certain kind of level of water cross the limit, that they're getting informed, the municipalities, and they developed also some single signs that they take a flag or a cloth to sign it that, hey, we're getting in danger. So water level becomes to a certain limit, and we have to manage it. And I think that's for a community resilience aspect very interesting, that they really take an active part in the monitoring of this issue, of this flood in general. And for me, it's another thing very important, that they developed over time a very good information system, also for people who are new in this area. So they try to inform them, they try to force the population to take their own responsibility in the sense of inventories of food and so on, so whatever they need. So they developed a very good systems to support also this community resilience. Okay, then let's go further to Austria. In Austria, we had, I don't know if you ever heard about it, in 1999, we had a big avalanche in a very small, narrow value village called Galtür. And 43,000 people were affected, 800 locals, and at the moment we had 3,500 tourists in this village. 31 were killed and 22 were injured. So It was a big impact in this region. And this valley was also separated for several days because of a high level of snow, and also of this danger of avalanches in general. They were separated from the rest of the world. So they had to survive. There were no possibility that helicopter went inside, also of the weather situation, and they had to manage themselves for days to survive, and also to start the rescue activities. And to show you some pictures, when you go down here, we see there are people who have certain kinds of uniforms. I think that was afterwards, but from the community resilience, something is very important, that a lot of people living there, they were part of the mountain rescues. So they are used to work with avalanches in this area, and the rescue activities immediately start. So they help themselves, and they organized also to integrate other tourists, the local population, to immediately start with the rescue activities. And avalanches are very heavy, so heavy snow, so it's not easy to get into the houses and so on. So it really supported the process that there already was a group of people who were used to work in such kind of situations. And that also saved a lot of lives. And also this small community is also very interesting. There is a story that the people exactly knew where older lady, a grandmother, took her coffee regularly at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in a certain room. And just some kind of information was very useful, because they knew where they should go for the search for this lady. And this knowledge also helped the rescue process, and saved also a lot of lives, because people were informed where the people were at the moment during this avalanche. For the community resilience and the grief, I think it's very important that the locals dealt very intensively with the event and experienced common grief, and they were strongly focused in their community. So media was very intensive, because a lot of tourists were there at the moment. They had really an intensive time beside of this avalanche. Additional the pressure of the media. There was also a pressure from the psychologists, because they wanted to offer psychosocial support, and it was not well organized at the moment. So there was also there was a negative attitude to these psychosocial support issues, and they organized themselves. So they talked between family members, they talked in the community about this issue. And you see on the left-hand side, that's a result of our interviews, so that our network graphs back to the normality after 2 years. So it really needs time, and it still present this event. If I go there, they build a museum. It's wonderful when you go inside. There are also some walls, you see it on the right-hand side, walls that are made of stone, but they save the region for other avalanches. So there were security measures installed, but in a modern style, you know, in another style, and give you always the impression, okay, we have to keep us safe, and we have to do and to practice, in the sense, a good way of security measures to keep safe. Let's go to Spain. In Spain, we have when did it happen? I have to go to my details. Sorry that I give you the right information. It was in 2004. We had the terror attack in Spain. We had several explosions in a very shortly time span in trains and at train stations, and 192 people died, 1,060 approximately injured. So in total, about 2,000 people were directly involved in this whole disaster. And yes, 10 years later, almost 30% of them presented symptoms of anxiety, depression, and PTSD. 10 years later, nearly 200 victims are still receiving psychosocial treatment after this event. So we see there is a strong impact in the sense of health. And the awareness also to offer psychosocial support to strengthen the population who are suffering from this event. And the care program has been launched for people also for hearing disabilities. So we had also some effects in this field from the physical impacts. And you see some other pictures too. It has had a big impact also on the society as a whole. And if you remember, several weeks ago, we had also a terror attack in Vienna. And this is a total different disaster with a different kind of impact. Not only the people who are immediately involved, also a whole society suffers from such kind of events, especially with such kind of huge event. And if you go on this result of our interviews, you see, I think that's a big issue also to deal with the responsibility we have to take care from the government level, also from a society level, how to respond to it. So believing on the goodness of society, the solidarity, also how to react not in a violent response, in a non-violent presence from the population perspective. And we see it just to come to an end. Also, we see it in Vienna because suddenly a very, for me, not a gentle way of communication has started. Maybe you remember we had some terror attacks in Paris. Then you say these Facebook messages, it's we, in the sense we take grief also, in the sense we participate on this event. And we had some, how to say, some messages now in the media that not deal in a gentle way with the communication, because it was meant, okay, we grieve with you, but the message was go away, but not in a gentle way. It's a dialect from Vienna. And one sister, the sister of a lady who died in Vienna because of this terror attack, wrote an open letter to say her sister would deal in a different way with terrorists. So she would start another kind of dialogue. So she really helped to change a little bit the way of communication. And I think it's also a way, and it has an impact about community resilience. So single person and civils can impact really in a big sense on a cultural level. The dealing with such kind of a situation. To coming to an end, my conclusions: each disaster is really characterized by event-specific conditions, pre-impact conditions, and also the physical and social vulnerability of the people affected. And it's always not easy to offer a standard system, also in the psychosocial support, that we really have to think about what are really the recovery needs. We have to identify that also from the psychosocial support perspective. Do they want support or not? Which kind of supports we can give them depending on the people affected. And we always have to think about the effectiveness of crisis management. And the last point means that we really think about these cultural systems, to take care of them and to adapt also and be a little flexible, to offer a certain kind of flexibility, what people really need, and also to integrate the population. I think also COVID shows us at the end that we really need much more, from my point of view, much more integration of the civilians, because sometimes I've got the feeling we don't want it from the governmental level. What I observe, I think there's so much knowledge and expertise from the population, and we could took much more care of that. Okay, thank you. That's the end of my presentation, and sorry if it takes longer than 20 minutes.
No problem. Thank you,
could tell so much.
Thank you so much for your presentation, sharing about your PsyCRISE project. Now, as the three presenters already finished their presentation, I now open for participants to ask questions to the three outstanding speakers. Please, you can directly unmute yourself and then directly ask the speaker or point out the speaker who you would like to ask to. Please, I open the question and answer session now.
Okay, I'll make a start then, whilst
Okay,
others
thank you,
are still
Nadine.
thinking about questions. First of all, thank you very much to each one of you. Pavel, it's lovely to meet you. You're the only one in the room who I have not met before. So thank you so much for your contribution. I know it's very, very early for you as well. And thank you, Johnny and Margit, for your contributions as well. I have to say, each of the presentations was fascinating. I have learned so much about community resilience and disaster management and the role of community. And I think there are a number of points in the presentations that I find really inspiring, and I think also are going to inform the way in which we are going to continue the dialogue around some of the outputs that we are developing as part of the BUiLD project. And you've really given some inspiration to how communities can be involved in some of the solutions that we are trying to put into place. And I think for me, well, what I've really taken from basically what all of you have said is that there is a greater need for coordination, and also that we need to get our heads around some of the sort of legislatory aspect and also enforcement, because you're right. I mean, there is a whole army of volunteers out there, and also within communities there is a lot of capacity to deal with disasters, not just in response but also in terms of the mitigation. But the question is, how do we actually move forward? How do we consolidate all of this experience and also this capacity? And I think you've mentioned some really interesting aspects around, so for example, the ethical issues around volunteering. You can't just expect individuals to assist in the aftermath of a disaster without thinking about how to keep them safe, how to give them the right psychosocial support, how to make sure that they are actually also working in partnership with emergency services, because I think that is one of the things that we are trying to get our head around at the moment, is what is the actual role of a volunteering organization, and how do they work together with emergency services to make sure that the response is appropriately policed, that it is done in an ethical manner, and also that we're preventing issues such as looting, robbing that Johnny has talked about. So really, I think my question, particularly to you, Pavel and Margit, is where do you see the solution? So how can we consolidate all those great efforts within that we see in communities, and how can we find that way into policy making so that we actually have a structured approach towards involving the community? So I'd be really, really interested in hearing your views about that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to start? You want to start, Margit?
Yeah, okay. Yes, it's a good question, and it's not an easy question to answer, because what I observed is that authorities, what I have observed, also because of the COVID situation, more than ever I experience it, is that the organization are, especially when we talk about authorities who are doing at the moment very important decisions, they are very, how do you say, they are closed organizations. When we go back, that they are really bureaucratic systems. Yes, and a professor in Germany told me already in springtime. It was very interesting. Is Professor Ebert? He's a linguistic. He's specialized in linguistics. He told me suddenly bureaucratic organizations have to be to react at the moment in a very, how do you say, flexible way, doing decisions. They have to do decision immediately. They have to evaluate the situation, thinking in scenarios. And I have also a colleague at the university. He's doing, how do you say, he's now collecting the positive and negative and infections of COVID and make the forecast for the next days because of the measures undertaken. And he told me that's a big issue because this complexity thinking and the integration of different kind of disciplines, not only experts in a certain kind of field. So we need a much more dialogue that should be supported to integrate this knowledge. And we have to install some, I don't know, don't ask me, some work groups. However, this is really missing to find good solutions, you know, especially for this big issue at the moment. And I believe we don't have the people thinking in this way, in this complex way. So we have to train them already and to force them also to say we need much better cooperation. So we have to create a system, an open system in the sense of an open dialogue, because it makes no sense if I observed in a certain area that also in the context of public authorities that they meet themselves only people from a certain kind of discipline. So there is no exchange to others. I think this should be also a big issue to offer them, to open them, also to make finally good decisions for the population, for the community. Just one point, Pavel, please.
Well, I think it's a really good question, and one that I sort of wrestled with, because we were thinking, well, obviously the advantage of the volunteers is that so they have that agency. They are sort of spontaneous. They're going there, and then we're trying to sort of in a way control them and put that centralized, which sort of goes against that. If you want sort of independence for volunteering. It's an interesting issue. I think the way we were trying to approach it in a proposal we wrote was to try to use, again, we're coming from a sort of operations and information management department, so obviously we want to use tools and toys, and so to try to use sort of things like, as I say, sort of the structure of smart cities and sort of crowdsourcing to try to say, well, we have this set of needs on the one hand, and then we have this set of capabilities and offerings on the other hand. Maybe use some sort of artificial intelligence to say, okay, let's try to bring them together, and people using an app maybe saying, well, if you can do this sort of things, the best place for you to go if you want to help is to go to that church over there or that school, or to help in road management or something like that. But yeah, it is quite an interesting aspect, and as you say, sort of it has obviously the operational side, but it has sort of ethical implications, policy implications, the psychological, the support of people. Maybe they go there as volunteers, and then they will need support. Sort of maybe they just go not expecting to see what they will see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I found very interesting those two presentations from Johnny and Margaret as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Pavel and Margit. I have a question to Prof. Johnny, because Prof. Johnny mentioned that during the community resilience activity in Tanjung Lesung and Bali, the local community, local leaders were more involved rather than the public authority or the local government. Then my question is, did you really involve the public authority during the community resilience in Tanjung Lesung and Bali at that time? If so, how did you involve the public authority to engage with your community resilience activity at that time?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Adi. The problem if we deal with formal public authority, sometimes the response is not that fast. I mean, what happened in Tanjung Lesung, at the times the tsunami hit in the middle of the night. And then because of the road is blocked with all the flood and all the mud, so the car and also the trucks, the help from Jakarta cannot go to that area because the road was stuck by a lot of flood and a lot of mud, etc., etc. So then from that point, we learned that yes, community leader, local community leader is more, let's say, powerful, and also they are local people. They are very fast in giving response. Because like I told you before, local from the National Army and National Guard, they can go to Tanjung Lesung after next 2 days, if I'm not mistaken, because they have to open the road first, they have to clean up the road before this road can be used. So what now we are trying to do is, the problem, sometimes this local community leader, sometimes they are seniors, and because seniors, some of them may be not educated so well, then we have to identify who are they actually, who they are, where do they live, what are their jobs, etc., etc. Then during this stable or during this normal condition, we have to approach them. We have to make a good relationship with them. How do we do that? We, as a university, we offer full scholarship for their children or for their relatives. We can offer them to take study at university for free. And also we hire some of the relatives to become our staff, so we can have a good relationship with them. We hope that we never had any crisis or tsunami or earthquake anymore. But if that happens again, we have to build our resilience. I hope that answers you, Pak Adi. And also this, I think, highlight also the question from Nadine.
Yeah, that was the continuation of Nadine's question, actually, related to the public authority. Okay, thank you, Prof. Johnny, for sharing how President University did its community resilience. Please, Pavel.
I had a question for Professor Johnny. I found it quite interesting, this sister community, sister villages program. How do people in the receiving community react to this program? The reason I'm asking is that we're doing some work at the moment on refugees in Syria, so going into Lebanon and Jordan. Obviously, well, it's a bit different because that's probably longer term, but we find sometimes that the local community might not be that receptive to the people coming in which are affected by the disaster. I was just wondering, in this case, how do they perceive the people that are coming after they have been affected by a tsunami or a disaster?
You, Prof. Pavel. Usually questions come from the participants, not from the speaker. Yeah.
Sorry.
Because if you ask me, then you have to pay my salary double. No, I'm just.
Oh well.
I'm just kidding. So this is what we did. Yeah. Jababeka, we built the city. What we call it Cikarang City, Jababeka City. This is located in West Java. This is industrial area. In Tanjung Lesung, we have 1,550 hectares land. We built as a resort. We built as for tourism. And now we hire some local people to become our staff in this Tanjung Lesung. And then we move them to work in Jababeka here in Cikarang. And then staff from Cikarang, some of them, we put them to Tanjung Lesung. So it's like an exchange. So they learn how, they learn different situations, they are facing different conditions, and it helped. It helped. Because before they just located in the local area, maybe they don't know or they never go to outside of the city. But because we take them to our city and then we put some of our staff to that area, so it's like a transfer knowledge, transfer experience, something like that. That's how we do it.
That's really interesting. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Joni, for your answer. Now, any questions from the participants, not from the speaker?
Adi, may I ask something?
Yes, please, Bu Sri.
Thank you, Adi, for the time. To Prof. Parel, interesting presentation, and I want you share experience relate how your country handles spontaneous volunteers, like what happened in Palu, Central Sulawesi, Indonesia, when the earthquake and tsunami. There are so many volunteers, but with the lack of experience, ability, and knowledge, because this is the first time. I think my question like Nadine, but I want to add a point to get information. What can we do to empower volunteers, and in the future, what role can we play as a university? And for the Dr. Majid, I want to know your opinion. What needs to be available first if the identification and classification process of disaster victims cannot be carried out easily? And because of limited data and technology, and the number of victims is relatively large with a diversity of age, education level, social level, and ethnic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Sri. First question to Professor Pavel about how do you handle spontaneous volunteers, because most volunteers have no skills, and then how also university contributes to the volunteer program.
I mean, I think that's a very interesting question. I mean, one example I can think of was this topos, which is, I forgot to say that the translation is moles, you know, the little animals that burrow, that dig tunnels. So that's what topos is in English. And so what they did was sort of created a civil association, and they carry out some training exercises and simulations within them. So that would be one way of doing it. I think universities will probably have a role in terms of helping to educate people about how to respond in case of disasters. One thing that we did in this European project, ERGO, the one about mass evacuations, was to look at not only the models which I showed you, but also how do we prepare the public for reacting. I think if we can get the public to look after themselves first and to know what to do, sort of many times just by getting people to not get into trouble, they're helping a lot, because then they're not diverting resources. And again, so we saw many campaigns. So here in the UK, for example, officials go to schools and give them instruction. Back in Mexico as well, when I was growing, we had simulations of earthquakes. So all of a sudden you were in school and the alarms went, and so you have to leave and just go to the assembly points, as I'm guessing we all do. Which other examples are, for example, in Germany, in Hamburg, they had floods, so they distribute leaflets to all the houses and say, well, this is your evacuation route, this is the bus stop which you will go. I mean, that's in terms of helping the effort. In terms of developing those skills, I would say exercises and simulations will be the way to go. And again, we have seen many examples of governments and NGOs involving the public in preparing or doing simulations of saying, well, this is what happens if there is a bomb on a train or if there's a flood and so on. So yeah, the other thing is that again, back home in Mexico, universities also they were used as sort of shelter and also as a sort of centers for receiving the donation centers, so that people got mobilized and got things there, and then students were out distributing, students and staff distributing the food or blankets to people that were affected.
Thank you, Pavel. That's the response from Professor Pavel to Ibu Sri.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Now the question about disaster victims to Margit.
So hello. Maybe I can add also to Pavel, and I think the role of the university, I think that's also very important to strengthen the individual and the organizational resilience. I think that would be a big issue also for us. And also another thing is what I want really to mention, because I developed a postgraduate program in the field of cross-border disaster management and to improve the collaboration. There's another thing what I got in mind in my talks with crisis managers of different kind of organization is if official ways of information and communication doesn't work, education could support the process that people interrelate, that they meet each other, that you understand the systems and the culture of the organization. And I think this informal way of putting together people and learning in the field of disaster management is a very useful issue to improve further disaster management. So I moved a little bit away of your question, but I think I wanted to add also this information to support this informal process was also argued by the crisis manager that I interviewed in the last month, that this could support the process for a better understanding and the dialogue. And maybe it's an answer also to Nadine. Maybe new things can develop because of these informal meetings and learning the understanding of each organization and how we can improve. Concerning data, I mentioned it before, and it's very difficult, and that's also a recommendation of our project and project report. To develop a standardization in collecting data, because it's not the case at the moment. The best would be also when we meet each other in such an environment at the moment, to think about a database where a standardization is given in the sense of collecting data. And this is a big issue. It's not easy because it has to be someone has to manage it. You need money, but I think that would be very important for the victims, for all people who are involved in a disaster, people affected, people who are dealing with the management. I think such a kind of platform would be very useful to learn from the gained knowledge, to integrate it in daily life. In training programs, in practices, in the daily practice. I think this knowledge exchange would be very useful. But as I mentioned, we need some standardization of collecting the information. And although what I've mentioned before, a smaller disaster, it's really hard to get all the information done. That's the reason why we went into the methodology of interviews to getting this information. That was one strategy from our project. Otherwise, we weren't able to analyze some smaller disasters to get very important information for the topic in general. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the nice opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Now one more last question, perhaps, if any, only because I see Prof. Pavel needs to teach.
Yeah, we need to, we need to go to to our session.
Okay.
Not all
So
students could join, so there are a couple waiting. And
okay. So if there is no more questions, so I need to conclude this webinar. Thank you, Professor Pavel. Thank you, Professor Johnny. Thank you, Margit, for your time as a keynote speakers for our webinar. I believe that this webinar would be useful for us under the BUiLD consortium members or program. Then another apologize for me if I did something wrong during or make you uncomfortable during my webinar or this webinar. I hope that we can meet someday in person, and please keep contact. I do with Pavel and Margit, I think. Okay, so that's all, and goodbye. Bye-bye.
thank you very much.
Thank you for the
Nadine,
organization.
thank you, Margit.
Thank you, Nadine.
Will you be able to share the recording later?
Yes, I will send you the YouTube link.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pavel.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Nadine.
Bye.
Bye, Nadine.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Dr. Majid.
Bye.
Bye, Bu Fika, Bu Sri.
Bye, Adi. Makasih.